Come to Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence for retirees looking for an ideal rental setting to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We offer bright 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, wellness and entertainment programs, all with a friendly community spirit on beautiful grounds. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel.
I'm Steve Kiltonic here in Springfield, where a parish founded by Polish immigrants recently celebrated its centennial anniversary.
Marking 10 years of Rachel's Vineyard ministry, a post-abortive healing ministry in the Diocese of Springfield. I'm Carolee McGrath. I'll have the story next.
And part 4 of our Catholic Communications July pilgrimage, featuring stops in Burgos and Loyola. These stories and more are just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel on this last weekend of October, a month dedicated to the Rosary. So it was fitting that Springfield Parish, Our Lady of the Rosary, recently celebrated its centennial. And as Steve Kiltonic explains, it is a steadfast faith which has been a hallmark of this parish over the years.
On Sunday, October 8th, Our Lady of the Rosary Parish celebrated its centennial anniversary with a Mass concelebrated by Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky, Pastor Stanislaw Sokol, and other priests and deacons of the Springfield Diocese. As is the custom, a loaf of bread and roses were presented to Bishop Rosansky as a welcoming gift. In his homily, Bishop Rosansky praised the brave ancestors of Our Lady of the Rosary Parish, many of whom came to America with only a few pennies in their pockets.
Those brave souls who sought that better life came to these shores. They came with promise and with hope. They came with the rich cultural heritage and a deep faith. They came seeking for their children and their grandchildren a life that was better than they had.
Father Sokol, who has served as pastor for nearly 20 years, said the Polish immigrants who came at the end of the 19th century to Springfield, Indian Orchard, Ludlow, and Chicopee were mainly from southern Poland. They came for jobs, and many of them found work in the numerous mills and factories in the area. Before Our Lady of the Rosary Parish was even established, the Jan Sobieski III Brotherly Aid Society was founded in 1910. Its main purpose was to provide life and health insurance for its members, many of whom had never previously had insurance. Other societies or sodalities would also play an important role in parish life for the next century.
St. Stanislaus Bishop and Martyr Sodality or Society, Holy Rosary Sodality, Polish Women Alliance of America, Group 422. So these societies or sodalities, they were like inspiration for younger parishioners.
In 1917, Father Stanislaus Orlamansky, a young, energetic priest from Philadelphia, was appointed as the parish's first pastor. Before a church was even built, parishioners attended Mass at St. Anthony's Maronite Catholic Church on Liberty Street. In 1919, with money donated by parishioners, property was purchased on Franklin, Underwood, and Linden Streets in Springfield's North End. A multipurpose school, church, convent, and community center was constructed on the site. Soon after, the Vinton homestead on Underwood was donated. It was used as the rectory. Once the parish was founded, immigrants soon started to acquire homes in nearby neighborhoods, and Springfield's Polish community started to grow. Alexander Zielinski is a lifelong parishioner whose family history here goes back to the 1930s. Zielinski and his siblings all received the sacraments and attended school at the Franklin Street complex. Zielinski, the parish historian, said Father Orlamansky was revered as pastor.
He was a beloved pastor of the immigrants, and he worked very, very hard. He was a very hard-working person. He wasn't afraid to be a mason or carpentry or whatever needed to be done. He was out there with the working men and doing the work. And people loved him for that because he was one of their people.
Zielinski, whose father worked at Hathaway Bakeries, recalled his school days during the 1940s when Polish was taught by the Sisters of Nazareth.
We had Polish Bible history, Polish history, spelling, mathematics. All the subjects were taught in both languages.
Greeting the students each day was the guardian angel statue, which stood at the entrance to the school. The population of the parish continued to grow, and in 1939, ground was broken for a much-needed church. Many parishioners participated in its construction without pay until it was dedicated in 1940. Jenny Starzyk-Benton grew up across the street from the church.
My mother came from Poland, and we got married here in 1939, and that was in the school hall. And from there on, of course, our family, the kids, we got baptized here. We made our first Holy Communion, our confirmation. We got married here.
Jenny attended the school at our Rosary for 8 years.
Father Orlamansky used to come into class, and we used to be scared to death when he walked in. He was very strict with the kids, and of course the sisters also. The school itself, we had like in 7th and 8th grade was one classroom. So it was like a private school. There was only maybe 15 of us when we graduated.
The much-beloved Father Orlamansky died on March 16, 1960, after serving 42 years as pastor. Father Ladislaus Rice was then named the parish's second pastor. He was followed by Father John Skoransky. On July 26, 1963, a 4-alarm fire destroyed much of the church's interior, causing $500,000 in damage.
The ceiling caved in, the windows, the beautiful windows that we had here, the stained glass windows, were blown out, and the floor caved in, and everything was just one terrible mess.
Many parishioners returned the following day to clean up and to salvage what was left. Over the ensuing months, the tragedy pulled the Polish community together. A temporary church was set up in the social hall.
People were very upset when that happened, but we all got together behind it to rebuild the church. It really meant something to have this church back.
Like the mythical phoenix, the church rose from the ashes. After extensive renovations, it reopened on Christmas Day, 1965. In the 1960s, the city of Springfield took over part of the parish property, including a convent and half of the rectory behind me, for urban renewal and the construction of I-291. In the process, the parish was not only changed physically, but its very fabric was altered forever.
Yes, it did affect the parish community because it went like to the heart of the parish. People were starting to move out. They lost their properties. All these streets here, the Underwood and next, they are just dead-end streets because the highway came. And that was kind of the beginning of slow but steady deterioration of a parish community.
Today, the immigrant flow from Poland, which was once a tidal wave, is now a trickle. After the anniversary Mass, the celebration continued at the Oak Ridge Country Club in Feeding Hills for a reception, dinner, and music by the Eddie Foreman Orchestra. Zielinski also read a proclamation from Springfield's Mayor Sarno. No matter what the future may hold in store, this parish can be proud of its 100-year history and the many who came to worship over the years. For Reel to Reel, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
And Steve says the centennial anniversary book and a DVD of the Mass and reception will be available sometime before Thanksgiving. October is also the month dedicated to respect life, and being pro-life means love and mercy for all, womb to tomb. Sadly, too often women facing an unplanned pregnancy see only short-term answers in an abortion. Yet for many of these women, their partners, and even family members, there is a lasting and painful emotional scar caused by abortion. There is one ministry built on sharing God's love and mercy for women who had abortions and others involved in the decision. Rachel's Vineyard ministry just marked its 10th year in the Diocese of Springfield. Carolee McGrath has more on this healing ministry that's changing lives.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
At the 9 o'clock weekday Mass at St. Catherine of Siena Parish in Springfield, you will often find Kathy Canavan and her father, Jack Canavan. The 54-year-old spent most of her youth and young adult life running from God, but God caught up.
I have been blessed beyond belief. You know, every day isn't easy, but every day I find peace because I find peace in the Lord.
By all accounts, Kathy kept the Lord at a distance. She went to Catholic schools, but as many teenagers do, she rebelled.
The world called me and, led me down that dark path. It was drinking and drugs, and, it was socially acceptable behavior, but not very Christian-like behavior.
The partying led to casual relationships. At 19, she found herself pregnant. She had an abortion.
I thought I was living, this good life, but the darkness was always there, even if I chose not to remember it. It was still there. I didn't know that I had an issue. I didn't know that I felt that way. But it was there. It was there in every decision I made from the time I was 19.
A few years later, Kathy went on to have a baby girl. Then she found herself pregnant again in her late 20s. She had a second abortion. In her 30s, before the birth of her son, she had a third abortion.
I never thought of it as doing anything wrong because society said it was okay. So who was I to say that, all these people, and the government and the laws, that they were wrong.
Kathy says she was told that her abortions were all about choice, as so many still proclaim. And yet deep down, she knew there was more to it.
The pain is hard to explain because it's not something that... It's not like when you cut yourself, you can, putting antibiotics on it. This is a pain that's so deep that you don't think there's a cure for it.
But 8 years ago, she found the cure, Jesus Christ. She began attending Mass again when her son was in Catholic grammar school. Then she found out about Rachel's Vineyard retreats, a post-abortive healing ministry for women and men who have been hurt by abortion.
I had read about it in the bulletin, but I was like, oh, that's nice, but never associated it with me. And came on the weekend in March of 2012, and I found God's mercy.
Father Anthony Gramlich is the rector of the National Shrine of the Divine Mercy in Stockbridge. He's also the chaplain of Rachel's Vineyard Retreats, which is celebrating 10 years in the Diocese of Springfield.
Everything, it's totally changed my priesthood. It's taught me really about mercy and action, and seeing the message of divine mercy literally changed people's lives where they thought that there was no mercy, there was no hope for them. And when retreatants come on the Rachel's Vineyard and they find that hope, they find that healing, they find that joy again, it just means the world to be a part of that healing, a part of the instrument of God's mercy.
The Shrine of the Holy Innocents, located behind the Mother of Mercy outdoor shrine in Stockbridge, is a place where women like Kathy can memorialize their children lost to abortion. The idea for the shrine came from a person who made a Rachel's Vineyard retreat. The shrine also honors all children who have died at a young age.
When a pilgrim walks into the shrine, the first thing that they see is the baby's feet here. And the baby's feet leads the pilgrim actually into the shrine. So the first thing that people are hearing is they're hearing music that's playing. There's also running water that's also trickling down. The pilgrims can touch the running water. It's very soothing. We have different murals of angels holding babies, and then we have an image of St. Joseph holding a child in honor of fathers have lost a child. And then the baby's feet come here to the center part of the shrine, which is Our Lady of Guadalupe, who's the patroness of the unborn.
Construction began on the shrine in 2008, but it was put on hold due to funding. In 2015, an architect who was so moved by this message of mercy came forward and offered to complete the shrine. The shrine is a place where Kathy finds comfort. It's also a place of healing for her father, Jack, who paid for her first abortion. As a grandfather, he says he experienced pain from that one choice, but Jack also found Christ's mercy. He followed in his daughter's footsteps and attended a Rachel's Vineyard retreat a few years ago.
What's not talked about is the pain. What's not talked about is what's in your heart, you know, and how negative you feel about yourself because, yes, you killed your child. And it doesn't matter what society says. It doesn't, just because it's legal doesn't make it right. I found God's mercy, something I wasn't even aware of. I found forgiveness, and that I could belong fully to Jesus Christ, that I could fully be a good Catholic, and that my past was just that, in the past.
Kathy hopes sharing her story will reach others suffering from the unspoken pain of abortion. Reporting for Reel to Reel in Stockbridge, I'm Carolee McGrath.
The next Rachel's Vineyard retreat is next weekend. For more information, you can find a link at iobserve.org. And still to come on Reel to Reel, we continue our travels from this past summer's pilgrimage to Portugal, Spain, and France. This story and more still to come on Reel to Reel.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Passionist Brother Terrence Scanlon, your Chalice host, inviting you to take time out of your busy days and join us Sunday morning at 10.
The Lord be with you.
We welcome Father Matthew Alkenbright
Lift
from
up
Mary,
your
Mother of
hearts.
Hope Parish in East Springfield as our celebrant. The Chalice of Salvation, your spiritual connection, Sunday morning at 10, right here on 22 News, WWLP.
Come to Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence for retirees looking for an ideal rental setting to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We offer bright 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, wellness and entertainment programs, all with a friendly community spirit on beautiful grounds. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
The annual Catholic Appeal, One Family, Many Gifts.
I'm Dave Picard from the Take and Eat program. Thanks to the annual Catholic Appeal, for the past 14 years, we have been able to provide 500,000 weekend meals to the homebound and the elderly across Western Massachusetts.
The annual Catholic Appeal, One Family, Many Gifts. Please give generously in your parish or visit diospringfield.org.
Springfield Diocesan Cemeteries now offer above-ground entombment at 2 locations in Springfield, St. Michael's and Gate of Heaven cemeteries. Both Catholic mausoleums are open daily from 8:30 to 3:30. For more information or an appointment with our Family Counseling Office, call 413-733-6019. That's 413-733-6019.
This past July, our Catholic Communications pilgrimage paid a visit to Spain, Portugal, and France. In part 4 of our special series on the pilgrimage, Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky, accompanied by Father Gary Daly, made 2 more stops in Spain before continuing on to Lourdes, France. The first is Burgos, with its magnificent cathedral dating back to the 16th century, followed by Loyola, the hometown of St. Ignatius, founder of the Jesuit order. Join us now as we bring you this next segment produced by Father Gary and Chief Videographer Bill Pecosha on this once-in-a-lifetime experience.
We are on pilgrimage. Join us as we visit the sacred sites and the beautiful vistas and landscapes of Portugal, Spain, and France. Our journey will take us through Lisbon and up the Iberian Peninsula to Fatima, where we will join in the celebration of the 100th anniversary of the apparitions. Traveling north, up the coast to Santiago de Compostela to experience the sights and the sounds surrounding the Feast of St. James. We make our way across the top of Spain to Burgos and Loyola as we make our final stop at Lourdes. Travel with Bishop Brzezinski and participate in the many graceful events of this magnificent pilgrimage. We leave the city of Santiago de Compostela and begin our long journey across the north of Spain, basically traveling the Camino in the opposite direction. We continue our bus journey toward Burgos for our overnight stop. This city of approximately 175,000 people in about 2,500 feet above sea level, it's considered the cradle of Castile. We have the opportunity to go to the square and enjoy the shops and cafes as well as tour the magnificent Cathedral of St. Mary. The construction of this Gothic cathedral started in 1221 and was finally completed in 1567. Inside the Cathedral of Burgos, visitors cannot miss the unbelievable dome, which dates back to the 16th century. In the central nave is the main altarpiece, which is considered to be one of the best altarpieces in Spain. The beautiful choir, the golden staircase from the 16th century, the artwork and the stained glass windows can keep you there for hours, admiring the craftsmanship and the story of our faith. Our pilgrims had the opportunity to take a tour of the cathedral and learn of all the intricate details of some of the chapels and some of those who are buried here within this cathedral. And what a great privilege to be able to see this magnificent structure in northern Spain. I know you're a faith-filled man. Is there anything in particular that has increased your faith or has energized your faith that you will bring home with you as a result of this pilgrimage thus far?
I guess I've become a little humbled myself. I've just come to appreciate the Roman Catholic faith, the Christian faith, and when I go home, I'm just going to be more open and share it more so with others.
We have the joy of celebrating Mass in the St. Thecla Chapel, which has touches of the Baroque style of architecture. You are led here on pilgrimage. You may have thought that you chose to come here on your own, and in some cases, in some ways, that is true. But the Holy Spirit prompted you. And you cooperated with the Spirit's desire for you to be on this pilgrimage so that you may be touched in one way or another. Maybe it's already happened to some of you while we were at Fatima or when we're in Santarém. God wants to touch you in some way. This cathedral, together with the cathedral in León, as well as Santiago de Compostela, represent the three most important cathedrals on the way of St. James. We leave the beautiful city of Burgos and make our way toward Loyola. This small town of 13,000 inhabitants is nestled in the valley, surrounded by the Basque mountain range. Most famous for the birthplace of St. Ignatius of Loyola. We tour the 18th century Baroque-style Basilica of St. Ignatius. It is a very modest structure with a great dome covered in Baroque paintings and designs. On its left side, we visit the birthplace of St. Ignatius that has been beautifully restored to its original state. We celebrate Mass together in the Chapel of the Conversion on the Feast of St. James. This chapel was the exact spot where St. Ignatius recuperated and converted. There is a beautiful sculpture in this chapel, which shows the convalescent Ignatius turning to God. St. Ignatius was born in 1491. He was an officer in the army, and during battle, a cannonball struck him and wounded one leg and broke the other. He was brought back to his home, the Castle of Loyola, to recover. He was getting worse, and the doctors told him that he should prepare for death.
And to think that his life as a soldier was over because of his injuries could have been greatly discouraging. He probably felt as though he was a failure to his family for not being able to continue the fight of battle and war. But yet, God took that failure, that physical infirmity that was inflicted upon Ignatius of Loyola, and God turned it into a spiritual journey that allowed Ignatius to succeed in making missionaries for the whole world.
On the feast of Saints Peter and Paul, he took an unexpected turn for the better. He was healed, but all his life he walked with a limp. During his recuperation, he read the life of Christ and a book on the saints. Impressed with what he read, he began his journey of conversion. He was ordained a priest and founded the Jesuits in 1540. 16 years later, he died on July 31st, and his body is buried in the Gesù Church in Rome.
Here, centuries after St. James walked this land, the importance of St. Ignatius coming to that conversion and wanting to win souls for Christ in the way that he does through the Jesuit order. And so to be in this place of Loyola, celebrating the life of St. James and the life of St. Ignatius really has been a great, great blessing of graces for all of us.
I think today was very special with the Feast of St. James, along with being here, having Mass at the chapel where St. Ignatius of Loyola had his conversion. You can't get any more on spot with that, especially being St. James' feast day and here being in Spain.
Leaving Loyola, we make our final trip through the Pyrenees mountain range to Lourdes in France. We travel through tunnels which cut through the Pyrenees on our almost 5-hour journey. We arrive in the late afternoon to our final pilgrimage stop. Join us next week as we visit this beautiful shrine of Our Lady of Lourdes.
And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us. For updates anytime, you can find information and news on the Catholic Church, both here in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world on our news and information site, iobserve.org. Also be sure to friend us on Facebook, where you will be able to travel with our reporters as they work on stories for Reel to Reel and get the latest news on the Catholic Church. Like us at Catholic Communications. I will be back at this same time next week for another edition of Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. See you then.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.
Come to Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence for retirees looking for an ideal rental setting to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We offer bright 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily Mass, restaurant-style dining, wellness and entertainment programs, all with a friendly community spirit on beautiful grounds. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.